Hello everyone, welcome back to Let It Cook cooking channel. Today I'll share my bacon Brussels sprouts recipe, great for game season. The perfect vegetable. For this of course we need Brussels sprouts, shallots, maple syrup, butter, pepper and salt, a bit of rye bread, nutmeg, bacon and a bit of balsamic vinegar. The Brussels sprouts are already a few days old, but that's not a problem with Brussels sprouts. The nice thing about Brussels sprouts is that you can still use them wonderfully. You can see here I also left a few for you. I've already cleaned them, but I just wanted to quickly show you how I cleaned them. You simply take the Brussels sprout and cut off the bottom generously. The old leaves, in my case there are a few more now because I let them sit for a bit. You just cut them off like this and then you cut across at the bottom here. What is the cross for? The cross is good because it lets the water get in properly and makes sure it cooks evenly. It also helps it open up a bit there. And the core is of course the hardest part. And if you cut in here now, you can already see that it opens up a bit. Hot water can enter, cooking it from the inside as well, making the whole process faster. Just finish these two. Why do I have maple syrup and old balsamic vinegar here now? Well, for me, this will now be a side dish for a venison loin. Yes, venison loin. I cooked a chouchon. I already have everything ready, actually, for the venison loin in the evening, and this will now be my side dish. And of course, the sweetness goes really, really well with it. Yes, this rye bread that I have, I'm going to make some crumbs out of it. I just had some left over. It's completely dry. Yes, I let it dry over the weekend, just left it outside. So, take a look at this. As you can see, it feels like a rusk, and now I'll make some breadcrumbs from it. Just put it in the blender for a moment. Okay, it doesn't matter at all if it's not super fine. So, if you still have a few chunks in here, some bigger and smaller pieces, that's totally fine. You can stop a little earlier. We'll take care of that a bit later. Once glazed, we'll roast it in bacon butter and sprinkle on top for crunch. It's going to be fantastic. Next, I'll chop the shallots. Why shallots? They have a slightly finer flavor. I'm making a delicate dish tonight. If you don't have shallots, use an onion, but not a red one. Slice it lengthwise, then cut it across once, and then chop it finely. I skipped the last bit since it's usually woody. 2 are enough, 3 is too many. The water's boiling. Add cabbage as it's great with it. Salt generously. Now we'll cook the cabbage, which takes some time. I can't give an exact time yet, but I estimate it should blanch for about 10 minutes. You'll need to test it as you go. Then you can, if you want to prepare it now, like I do, cool it down again after cooking, so you cook it now. When it's soft, put it into ice water, make it really cold again, that way the color stays nice and vibrant. Yes, you can do the whole process at once if you want to serve it immediately, depending on your plans. I've heated the pan and have bacon ready. It's always like this with bacon. There's something in the supermarket called ham cubes, yes, that's pre-cut ham bacon, and it's actually not that suitable. You should make sure that it's smoked pork belly, so a raw smoked pork belly, and not air-dried bacon, because air-dried bacon, like anything that's air-dried, Parma ham, South Tyrolean and so on, yeah, that's not suitable for frying. Because that gets tough, it turns into really hard little crumbs. This raw bacon or smoked pork belly stays crispy and renders well. It's getting louder now. I hope you can still hear me. And then it just tastes much better than if you use ham. Yeah, this will take a little while. We'll let it cook. It'll get nice and crispy, but we'll keep it nice and tender. Cooking. For Brussels sprouts, in my opinion, loyal fans already know this, Brussels sprouts shouldn't be too hard. Personally, I prefer them slightly overcooked instead of too hard. Because if it still has a bit of a bite, then it tastes like, I don't know, it crunches on your teeth, and that's not a pleasant mouthfeel. My grandmother always overcooked Brussels sprout salad, making it so buttery soft. I loved it. That's why I nearly overcooked it. But you can cook it however you like. Cooking it longer does mean more vitamins are lost. To preserve more vitamins, cook it for less time. So I'll clean this up quickly and then I'll show you how to continue. I cooked the Brussels sprouts for 12 minutes. They're really nice and soft now. Like I said, you can leave them firmer if you want. The bacon is crispy. Yes, I'll cut the Brussels sprouts in half now. If I did it before cooking, they'd fall apart. I don't like that. It looks better done this way. Now we'll add a piece of butter to the pan and then the onions right after and let them saute a little. I can cook the Brussels sprouts perfectly in the bacon fat with the butter. By the way, if you want one of these beautiful Let It Cook cooking channel knives, you can find the shop up here. Check it out. I don't need to say more, right? If you haven't subscribed to me yet, just hit the subscribe button down below. It doesn't cost you a cent and helps the channel. Leave a like and comment actively. That's very important, more than you think, so this video gets promoted. So take a second and a half. I think that's something I can ask of you. You can see the knife just glides right through, which means it's really nice and soft. For example, I was always a rather strange kid, as I mentioned in an old video before. As a kid, I didn't eat French fries, but I loved Brussels sprouts, which was really, really strange. I didn't like French fries, and by the way, I still don't really like them today. If they're not really tasty, I always prefer fried potatoes over French fries. Somehow, yeah, they're often just old greasy sticks, as I always like to say. So, when everything here is nice and translucent, yeah, then you add a bit of this old breadcrumb flour, right? Not too much, it's just a little bit for the crunch. Now toss in the Brussels sprouts. Okay, quickly put the board away, and now you toss this through really nicely. Yeah, now let it fry up really well for a moment, yes, so give it some nice heat, that's what we're going for now. A bit of nutmeg I think always goes perfectly with Brussels sprouts, of course not too much. Then another small pinch of salt, but you have to be a bit careful with the salt, of course. You've got bacon in there, you salted the water well, so taste the Brussels sprouts first. How salty did it get? Be careful not to use too much salt. A bit of pepper for those watching their calories. They can look away for a moment. I'm adding a small splash of butter. Let me put it this way. This pan, if you're making something fancy like a hashraken, this pan is more than enough for 6 guests, especially since it's just a small side dish, plus there's an appetizer, dessert, and bread. It's not a main course, it's really just a side dish, and that's why it's not such a big deal if there's a relatively large amount of fat in it. I'm trying to talk my way out of this, but everyone gets 2 spoonfuls, so it'll work out fine. And now a little bit of the aceto goes on top, not too much. It gives a nice acidity and at the same time a nice sweetness, and a bit of this maple syrup too, of course not too much. Just a few drops, but it pairs perfectly with this lingonberry sauce. Later with the venison loin. Or you can use venison or roe deer goulash, or just make it if you like Brussels sprouts. I know a lot of people don't like it, but this one tastes fantastic, I can promise you that. Let it fry a little longer, but I can go ahead and try it for you. It tastes just the way it should, and that's exactly how it should look. Nice green color and full of flavor. I'll try it now. I'll take a bit with some bacon. I just love it. I know a lot of people don't like it that much. I'd pick this over many other vegetables, especially when prepared like this. It tastes totally different than the usual way, especially without the sweet note. Now give it a try, serve it with a nice dish. Enjoy your meal, see you next week. Let it cook. Cooking channel, take care, bye.